following announcement has been paid for by the Celtic World Order.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As you can see, it's another double done because the gruesome twosome are back together in Shea Paddy. And of course, we've got a fresher, more handsome looking Josh joining us on screen today as well. Because after late last night, I think there'll be a couple of sore heads here, but the excitement levels are still peaked. And I can't wait to get into it and see what everybody elsewhere is saying about this. So I know you were there, Josh. You buzzing as much as we were last night, mate?
Yeah, certainly. It was very good. Very much enjoyed it. It's one of the best European performances I've seen from a Celtic team. I think I said that after Slovan Bratislava, but last night against that level of opposition, it was terrific. Celtic imposed themselves in the game, imposed their style on RB Leipzig, and Leipzig couldn't cope. And yeah, from start to finish, Celtic absolutely brilliant. So many good performers. And that team, Callum McGregor outstanding in the middle of the park. Austin Trusty was a rock at the back. Nicholas Kuhn, he speaks for himself. His performance, and Rio Hatate was excellent in the middle of the park as well. So many good things about it. Yeah, which was
Paddy's man.
to see. Yeah, Paddy's man. But no, Celtic were terrific, and I think last 16 playoff qualification is a realistic possibility now, and perhaps you can even look forward to the last 8, or the top 8 rather, if performances keep going the way they are.
Yeah, and that seems lofty, but you know, as we say, we keep coming back to it. The great thing about this new format that for some reason folk didn't like, it gives you that opportunity. I mean, look at RB. All right, the games ahead were absolutely murder, but the fact that they are so down that pecking order and Celtic are, you know, as good as beyond mid-table, currently 13th. Some games tonight that may well change, but in a strong position. 7 points before we are drawing a blank on the goal difference, so we are completely neutral there, and it's a massively positive position to be in. And we'll look at it, we'll go back to what you thought about it, we'll touch on some of the performances, and then we'll look and say, what can this mean moving forward? But before we do, super quick, as always, welcome back to the channel. If you are a continued supporter, thank you very much. If you're new, just make sure that before you go, hit the like, hit the subscribe and the bell icon. You'll be notified every time we go live. You can catch up with us on the move. We're on Spotify. Just search Celtic World Order on there. We are also on TikTok, and finally at CWO Pod 1888 on X. More chat there. We are absolutely buzzing, Paddy. A bit of a sore head, a bit of a late night, and thanks to everybody that stayed up. I think we were on to about 11:30, 11:45, if such was a desire for it. And the comments, that conversation could have went on all night. But I think as we wake up in the morning and we come through to some other things trending, apparently there's a certain guy that's going to make America great again. There's one thing that we can definitely say, and this should be trending in Scotland, is Brendan Rodgers is making Celtic great again. And particularly if that in Europe is the green shoots of progress, well, I'm here for it, man.
Oh, listen, Josh, like you said, last night there wasn't a bad performance, in my opinion. Every single player played the way that they should, the way that we expect them to play. We kind of touched on Arne Engels. I don't know what you thought of Arne, but I thought he was kind of slow the first kind of 30 minutes. I don't know if it's the expectation that we've got of him, but for me, he didn't set the header alight. Yes, he got an assist. Yes, he done okay. But I think, obviously, you said it before there, Rio Hatate and Callum McGregor in there were fantastic. And he was there. And that was it, basically. But listen, no bad performances. I thought the defence was solid. Midfield was brilliant. And listen, up front, firepower, incredible.
Yeah. I mean, you were at the game, obviously, Josh, and just like to get your sort of perspective. You know yourself, when you watch it on TV, you think you see things, but when you're in the stand, you get that different vantage point. You actually get to see how things were. When we were speaking about it, we said, obviously, much to our surprises, that opening, 2 minutes was ridiculous. We could have scored the run-up, they could have scored the other end. Quick turnovers of play. Felt it was maybe about a wee 20-minute mark where it was as if both teams were just sniffing each other out, sussing things out. But then they obviously got their nose in front via about the corner and the set piece. It looked to me, to my eye, that it did unnerve us, a wee bit, shake us a wee bit for a wee sort of 5 to 10 minute period. Was that tangible? Was that palpable in the stands? Did you feel that?
Yeah, it was 100%. I think there was just a spell of uneasiness, to be honest. Leipzig were whipping in corners that were terrific deliveries, in fairness to them, and they were all in swingers going in towards that front post, and because it kept continually happening, they scored a goal from it. The fans were getting naturally restless. But aside from that brief, I think it was even a 10-15 minute spell, that was the only real spell Leipzig had in the game. It was nervy, it was uneasy, but Celtic rode the wave, conceded a goal, yes, but apart from that, Leipzig didn't do anything in the game. For a team that's... But I don't think it's down to them being poor, Leipzig. I think it's down to Celtic imposing their style on Leipzig. We've seen it so many times where Celtic have looked to play this style at home, where against whether it be Real Madrid, even didn't even beat teams like Shakhtar Donetsk in previous years. You play that style and you get undone. They weren't undone last night. That shocked Leipzig. See, towards the end of that game, Celtic 3-1 up, 2 goals ahead, 15 minutes to go. It was just like a regular domestic game, the way Celtic were knocking the ball about. It was so comfortable. And Leipzig didn't offer much. I expected more from them, to be honest. But I don't think it's down to them being poor. It was about Celtic composing their style in the game. And I think the players, the club deserve a lot of credit for beating a team who are second in the Bundesliga. Conceded only 5 goals in the Bundesliga this season. It's terrific. I know they've lost all their Champions League matches, but that's to elite opposition. They lost to Juventus, Liverpool, and Atletico Madrid. They've been terrific in the league domestically in Germany. So Celtic deserve a lot of credit for the way they took the game to them, took it by the scruff of the neck, and but not hammered RB Leipzig, because it wasn't a hammering, but it could have been more than 3 goals.
Oh, definitely. And, I've seen the comments coming in there. Obviously, as we say, Paddy, there was that wee shaky point. We went down by 1. There was the period where they had another great delivery that flashed across the back post. Nobody there, fortunately, to tap it home. Obviously, the one with Šeško gets it. It's under his feet. He can't get it out. And as they rightly say, we talk about fine margins in Europe, but you also do need a wee slice of luck, because, as some are saying, had that second moment in and we go 2-0 down, it can be a completely different story.
Yeah, we've seen it previously. Like Josh was saying there, you had the slight lull just after the goal. The heads kind of go down a little bit. Callum manages to raise the crowd, but the players back up. And listen, if you concede another goal at that point, then it's a totally different game. The heads might go down, the fans get on their backs a little bit, things like that. But listen, it's the performance that we've been waiting on. Steve would said it last night as well. We've been getting better and better and better. The performance against Bratislava, like you say, Josh, it was good, but the opposition wasn't anything really. Let's face it. Went up against Dortmund, got our arse felt. That was a lesson. The performance against Atalanta, incredible. That was a defensive performance that we've been looking for Big Trusty. That was his baptism, so to speak. And then again last night, I thought he was fantastic again, and I thought every player in that squad just pushed and what a result.
And Josh, what I want to ask you is, because we sort of spoke about this last night, and in the sort of heat of the moment and the excitement, you can get carried away. But even with the calm light of day, I can have a look at it and don't think that we were particularly overly exuberant about it. Where we were saying, look at the remaining games we've got.
Yeah.
Young Boys of Bern, and also Club Brugge. Neither of them are going to be near the quality of Leipzig, and we've got them at home. Now, of course, don't take that for granted. Dinamo Zagreb, bit of a surprise package, much like ourselves, actually, could be a tough one. And of course, Villa is at the very end, when hopefully everything's done and dusted, and it will be what it will be. But in terms of progress for us here in Europe, does this feel like an arrival for you, or is it, is it just one of the ones where it's a flash in the pan? Because I personally don't feel that. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah.
See some of the comments on social media, and folk are like, from obviously other corners, saying, look at them all getting carried away. Nobody's saying that we're going to go and do big, massive things, but qualifications got to look solid and not just keep them over the line.
Yeah, definitely. It was a statement victory, I feel. We've been waiting a long time for a win like that against elite opposition, where you play well and you perform to an elite level that matches and is better than them. So it does feel somewhat, I would argue, like a new dawn in Europe for Celtic now, especially given the change of the Champions League to the league phase format. It's certainly benefited the club and the team so far. And the way Rodgers has Celtic playing at the minute against these teams is very good. And now if you look at it, if you take some of last season's games, in the last 4 games at Celtic Park in the Champions League now, Celtic have won 3 and drew 1. So they're unbeaten at home in Europe in the last 4 games. Now, with Bruges up next and Young Boys up next at home, you wouldn't be surprised if that lead gets extended to 6 games. And with that, Celtic Park truly starts to become a fortress in Europe once again that teams fear coming to play. So it does feel somewhat different now under Europe, or in Europe with Celtic. It's strange for me because I've never really had it, to be honest. I'm just used to continual disappointment in the Champions League and Europa League. So it is nice now to have these kind of these games where you're going into them and you do have the hope that you can get a result if Celtic play well. So yeah, it's very nice. We'll just have to wait and see what the next couple of games holds. I think looking at the Opta stats, there is a 98% chance of getting into the top 8 if you finish the league phase with 16 points. Celtic are on 7 at the minute, so they need 9 more points. So that could be 3 wins out of 3 in the next 3 games. It is possible, but it's a very tough ask. Like Roger said after the game last night, the target was the last 16 playoffs. That's the focus.
Definitely.
If and when Celtic get there, they can then perhaps look ahead to the top 8. But 10 points is the threshold for the last 16 playoff. Only 3 points away from it now. I think it's well and truly a possibility.
We spoke about that last night, the so-called supercomputer predictions, essentially. Yeah, and like that 10 points, you look at Young Boys. I had a wee look at the league stage there, the league table and stuff, and Young Boys are sitting there. I don't know, are they bottom or are they second bottom?
Near enough.
They're right down there.
Bratislava. Yeah.
So do you know what? Going into that one, I would be extremely confident to take a good few goals off of them, especially at Celtic Park. The other one as well, Bruges. Yeah, they are what they are. They're not going to cause as many problems in there. But we've dealt with, like you said, Josh, the second best team in Germany at the minute. So going into the games, you would be full of confidence. And the players seem to be playing with that confidence and that freedom as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I think what Celtic can't afford to do, though, is be complacent in these games, you know. Like, obviously, these teams are in Champions League for a reason. Bruges, Young Boys, the last thing you can afford to do is take 3 points for granted at this level. But it's favourable fixtures. I think Young Boys will be interesting because when that game comes round, it'll be January. They'll have a new manager in place. They've got an interim coach at the minute. And they narrowly only lost to Inter Milan last time out through a last-minute winner. So that would suggest a bit of improvement from them, but it's definitely Bruges and Young Boys. You have to be aiming for 6 points from those 2 games.
Yeah.
No, as is the realistic, as we say, is talk about games that are winnable. That was the tough, compact 3 games smashed together, and we say, look, we can now sit with big smiles on our face and wax lyrical about that performance. But it was really a case of saying, look, those 3 games, if you can get 3 points, looking for the home win, obviously, you'd take it. Oh, the fact that we've come out the other end of it looking far better just puts you in a really, really good positive position. But the thing that I really liked, and I'm seeing on social media and a lot of folk talking about, is a sense of there's a maturity there. Brendan Rodgers has had to really work, to be honest, to turn around some opinions on him, some opinions on his team. Obviously, we didn't really start to see the fruits of what he was trying to do till January onwards last season. But one thing is, there's been consistency. You've seen a marked improvement from that period where we managed to claw back and win the league to getting the cup pre-season to the start of the season, and then just even in Europe, taking the hiding, moving on, learning for it. It is developing, and again, bringing it into other reviews and other opinions from other quarters, all the same things have been said. They are miles ahead of everybody in this league, on and off the pitch.
Yeah, that's it. We spoke about it before, the Rodgers team, and that's what we're getting now. We're getting that form that we've seen in pre-season. Obviously, pre-season, you can't really gauge your future by that. But you know what? You look at the game against Man City, the breakaway that Nicholas Kuhn had in that game as well, his goals and that just fills you with confidence. You look at the Chelsea game as well, and Chelsea played a decent squad in that game, and we played really, really well in it. And that going forward, I was like, yeah, this is it. And although Brendan came out after the Dortmund game and said that we wouldn't be changing anything, we wouldn't be, we'd be doing the same things, but there was lessons to be learned. Obviously, those lessons to be learned were defensively, because that's where we've tightened. That's where we made the changes, and that's the progress that we've got now. You just look at the back four, absolutely phenomenal.
You know, Josh, looking at this team, and as we say, you know, the title for the day is that this huge win needs to be a springboard for further success. And that's not just in, obviously, Europe. You know, we're cruising, we're doing well domestically. We find ourselves in the first cup final. There'll be no sweat in terms of, there'll be no worries or lost sleep over that one. No disrespect, just such as confidence levels. If you can't have that level of confidence back, then, you know, what are you doing? But in terms of developing, in terms of being a springboard, we spoke about it last night and you just brought it up. When the January transfer window opens, we've still got games to play and potentially games after it. Now, the transfer window, we brought in a good few amount of players, some good quality players. We also saw us making a decent outlay of spend. Of course, we were still like 1 or 2 wee extra bits of quality. But it does look as if going that wee extra mile and spending on these better players is paying dividends in the league with the squad depth, with the rotation, and of course in these European nights. I mean, look at what we've won. I think in terms of prize money additional so far, we're around about 6 million or so minimum.
4.1 million pounds is what Celtic have earned so far, so it's a really nice sum. It's 2.1 million euros per win, and then I think it's around about 500,000 euros.
Yeah, I was quite surprised because I thought, I used to be the belief that it was around about 2.4 and 900k for a draw. So if that may have changed given the new format, I'm not so sure. But either way, it's getting that money back at the other end, mate.
Yeah, 100%. Rodgers has an interesting dynamic at play here because he's went to the Celtic board in the summer, looked at this new league phase of the Champions League and said, I think it's a really good opportunity for the club. If you back me in this summer window, then I think I can do good things. And obviously that's paid dividends so far. Now you go into January now, Celtic still, like we say, have 2 league phase games to go, but you could be home and dry in the top 24 by the time January comes around. So Rodgers will be going to the Celtic board and saying, listen, I think there are certain areas in this squad that still need strengthened. I certainly think there are, I don't know about you, but I think the wings certainly need looked at, particularly. Even, obviously, the report last night about Alex Vai's loan being cut short, you might need to look at the left-back situation as well. So there's a lot of areas that might need looked at in January. And Rodgers should be going to the board and saying, listen, look what I've done so far after you backed me in the summer in Europe. Think about what we could do now if you back me again. This is a terrific opportunity for the club in the last 16 playoff, or maybe even the last 16. If you back Rodgers with a quality £6-7 million winger who, when Daizen Maeda comes off the level, isn't going to drop. When Kuhn comes off the level, isn't going to drop. Because that's the type of depth you need to compete at the elite level. So, yeah, certainly I think it's a very good dynamic to have that's still alive in Europe after the January window, because it means Rodgers can go to the hierarchy of the club and say, back me, because I think there's still a lot of room for growth in this competition before the season ends for Celtic.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Paddy, isn't it? You know, he's proven his point. You know, he was given not a lot, if we're being perfectly honest, in his first season. Much frustration. We were all sitting here and saying, has he been sold a daft with this board? But he's proven, he's turned around and says, look, I was able to get by with your nonsense. Give me the tools. He's been given it. So far, we've been flawless domestically. A draw still, no defeats, but flawless domestically, and real improvement in Europe, and sitting in a super strong position where, yes, I know it might only be another 2 games if you get through the group stage, right? But it's all about the luck of the draw. Look at the way this table's panning out. Big teams can fall and will fall, and you might just be able to turn those 2 games into another 2 games and bigger money. You've got to give him a wedge. He's earning it.
Of course you have. And I said it last night as well. Going into games against these so-called bigger clubs, we've seen these bigger clubs come to Parkhead before and fold. Parkhead is an absolute fortress, and it's becoming better and better. You've heard guys like Lionel Messi, Anders Iniesta, Pirlo, Maldini, all these guys come out and go, wow, that is the best stadium and atmosphere I've ever played in. That was incredible. Now, that just shows you the best in the world can fold there. Mm-hmm. So I don't care who we get. You want the big boys. We spoke about that when Peter Grant was on as well. You want to see the big clubs coming to Celtic Park, because when you beat them, then you go, do you know what? That was incredible. If you're saying tonight, last night, Josh, was one of the best nights that you've been at Celtic Park, there's better to come, mate. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. And here's a question here that's been asked by Alan. Will we get to register more players in the Champions League? Now, you might know better than this than I. I don't necessarily know if we will be able to do it for this group phase. We have determined our squad as it is. However, we're looking at just saying we're still in Europe in January, and then getting to that knockout phase, you would then re-register your second squad. So anybody you bring in, you can add them in. So there is value for money, and there is a reason to do it, first and foremost. Yeah. But just to come back to the sort of game and the performances, Josh, he's mentioned them there. Nicholas Kuhn, and we're talking about this sending out a message to, us domestically, others around us. It's also sending shockwaves along in Germany, and I don't know if you saw it, the German media, and I'm just sort of working off the back of it. It was a profile on Kuhn, who this unnamed, unknown, mark German tore apart the mighty RB Leipzig. I think the term they used was something, again, just paraphrasing, no-name German professional embarrasses RB Leipzig. He's no no-name guy now. Everybody knows them now, Josh. Yeah. Where has this guy been? We knew he had an injury, but that you posted it on your other account about the rumours that teams have been looking at £10 million for him. Like, I don't want him to go anywhere, but £10 million, you can laugh that right out the door.
Yeah, Celtic, I think that was from a Sky Sports journalist in Germany. No chance £10 million for Nicholas Kuhn. Celtic will be getting upwards at least of 25 if he goes next summer, or even in January. He burst onto the scene this season. I think that's 19 goal contributions in all competitions. He's been terrific. Like as the comment from Alan says there, he's on a different planet right now. From the player he was before the summer to now is unbelievable. The transformation is unreal. Nicholas Kuhn, when he gets the ball, you feel like something's going to happen. The quality of that first goal last night, he dribbles in, drives by 2 or 3 players, and so often you see a player do that and just shank the ball right into the Green Brigade. He dinks the ball, chips it. I think it's not even a shot, it's a little chip into the far corner. He knows exactly what he's doing. Quality, absolute quality. And if he wasn't known in Germany before last night, he certainly will be now. And I think if he keeps up this current form, Julian Nagelsmann from the German national team might be giving him a wee call. You never know.
I called that as well yesterday.
Yeah,
we were sitting talking about it yesterday, and I says it's a chance for Engels to kind of prove a point to the Germans and go in there and show us what he could do against them. And it was a point for Kuhn to possibly make a name for himself and burst into that Germany squad.
Definitely. Yeah. I would.
No, and that's the thing, Josh, just to sort of elaborate a wee bit more on what you're saying. It might seem a bit, again, people say, like, come on, look at Germany, look at the side they've got. Yeah, do you know what? They've got massive talent. But again, much like ourselves, it's about having alternative options. It's about having, others that are not the same status quo. And they're also a very young team. They're going through another, sort of developmental phase where in a couple of years' time they will click. Now, folk will always look at the Scottish League and, disgrace it and say what they want about it. But if he's putting in performances like this in Europe, those are the ones that they're taking advantage of in their ground. And am I going to say he's going to get in every squad and he's going to play against big games? No. But much like we do, see when you've got these random, breaks at European and you're playing against Georgia or whoever it is, why not? Sample him, get him in, give him an opportunity against the lesser sides and take it for there. It's not out of the realms of possibility that it could happen if he keeps going this way, Josh. And certainly, not that we're trying to sell a guy, but talking about value, these are the things that are just going to be adding on to it. Even if he's able to get into, I don't know if would he qualify still for the underside, would he be eligible, or is he too old now?
Yeah, I think he's 24 now, but he has played for the youth sides before. I'm not sure of the specifics, but he has played for either the 21s, 19s, or whatever it is. So that'll perhaps put him in good stead if the German national team are looking to call upon him. And like you say, perhaps it's one where they do have some poor games or games against lesser opposition and couldn't maybe gets the opportunity, which would be great to see. But I think in terms of transfer interest in him, big clubs, especially in Europe, look at performances in the Champions League. And the fact Kuhn has done that last night, man of the match display, 2 goals, a lot of big teams will take notice of that and they'll think, oh, who's this guy? Who's Nicholas Kuhn? And they go and look at his numbers for Celtic this season, even before last night. And they're like, wow, he's been incredible. So maybe he is one who just keeps up this level throughout the season and maybe goes in the summer. Not that you want to sell a guy, but that is a realistic proposition if he keeps up his performances, both domestically and in Europe. I don't think Celtic should look to sell him because he's sensational. But yeah, the guy's on the form of his life at the minute, and he's an ice cold player as well. I mean, look at the way when he scored that first goal, just the way he celebrated. He was just hands out, ice cool, brilliant to see, and I'm really enjoying watching him this season. The German Messi, as you referred to earlier, Stephen.
Yeah, that's it. And listen, see if he does go, we've got Yang and James Forrest in there to take his place.
By the way, a word on Yang. I thought Yang was very good last night when he came on, to be honest.
Yeah.
See the wee cameo he had. I was a bit surprised it was him instead of Forrest or Palmer, but that says a lot about Brendan Rodgers' trust in him. So yeah, I was quietly impressed by Yang, involved in some nice sequences of play on the right-hand side. Short, sharp, can carry the ball, sticks it to his feet, and that shot that flew over the bar, he was unlucky with that. So I think there's still a player in there in Yang, in my opinion.
There it is. There's that saying. Yeah. There is a player in there.
Do you know, and this is the thing. This is the great thing about being a Celtic fan. You know, we've sat here and we'll hold our hands up. You know, last season we were talking about Nicholas Kuhn and sort of, you know, and rightfully so. Were we writing him off? Perhaps. There's a lot under the surface that we don't know about. You know, it turns out obviously the medical issues and it massively affected him. But as I always say time and time again here, we're not experts, we're just fans. And one thing we'll do is we'll always comment on what we see with our eyes. We will always comment with what we see with our eyes. You know, it's easy to sit here and just go lowest common denominator and say everything that's happening at Celtic, every player's the best. There's no such thing as room for improvement. Nobody said a stinker. You know, what would the point of that be? And we love getting proved wrong.
Yeah.
There is nothing better than a guy turning it around and switching it on. You know, if you had asked me at the end of last season, would this Nicholas Kuhn be here this season? I would have said, not so sure. But he's taking in the information. He's working hard. You could see that through the pre-season. He got himself fitter. He got himself stronger. And he's delivering on what he said that he likes to do. Excite, attack, score goals, get the crowd on their feet. You know, more the power to him. And as I say, I'm happy to sit here and say, didn't see that one coming, got that wrong.
Him developing players and stuff like that. Brendan's one of the greatest in the game at developing players. You just need to look at Callum McGregor, Kieran Tierney, other guys that he's pushed on throughout that squad. It's working again with Nicholas Kuhn. It's working again with Daisen Maeda. All of these guys are pushing on. You still got a few young guys in there as well that will be doing all of this work behind the scenes. There's not been much talk about young Thiago Holm, but he's there at Lennoxtown all the time. You see him there. He's always training and stuff like that. Guys like this will be working tirelessly behind the scenes to break into that squad.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, Josh, Dempsey, you mentioned Yang. That's all we want. Much like we've seen for Kuhn, we want guys to show something when they're coming on. Mm-hmm. And again, don't want to keep going back to that well, but the fact that he's been able to now get brought on, you know, in a game of this magnitude, again, getting brought on ahead, again, as we've seen previously, guys like Ollie Palmer, you touched on coming to January, and you said about your concerns about wanting to add a wee bit more into the wing area.
Mm-hmm.
Is Yang a guy who could be a supplementary, kind of like your James Forrest, who'll be kept around, maybe utilised sparingly, or do you think there is a Nicholas Kuhn story in him, mate?
I think it's interesting because I think you can do one of two things with Yang. You either keep him around, give him the minutes and the style of minutes he was getting last night, and see if he can force his way into the team and become a starter like Kuhn has, or you in January you send him out on loan for 6 months to the end of the season to a team in the Scottish Premiership, someone like, I don't know, maybe not Aberdeen because they're Celtic's title challengers at the minute, but someone like a Motherwell, a St Mirren, and a Hibs to see how he does in the league, getting consistent minutes, because that's what a lot of wingers need. So you can either do one of those two things. I think there's a player in him, and listen, I wouldn't put it past him to have a Nicholas Kuhn style revival because he's still only 22 years old. Yang came to Celtic at 2021, foreign country, other side of the world, away from his family, having to adapt to a new life, having to adapt to elite standards at a club like Celtic. It's took him a while to get his feet under the table, but now the signs I've seen the past few cameos he's come on, he's looked decent. So that famous phrase, there's a player in there. Nicholas Kuhn's 24, so Yang's still got 2 years to go before he's 24 and reaches perhaps those levels. So we'll be interested to see if he can get there.
Yeah. Well, looking towards the game, the comments are starting to come in. Game Sunday.
Yep.
Kelly, we know what we're getting there. Pitch, it is what it is. There was a lot taking out the team there. It was massive energy levels. We saw the effort that was had to be put in over in Bergamo. We had a good follow-up domestically off the back of that. Slightly different. That was concentration and energy. This was all action, Josh. Start to finish. Bustling, hustling, making it happen. Quick turnaround. Any concerns looking at that game there, or is it we're going to see some, as the manager says, we're going to see some squad rotation there?
Yeah, I think you naturally will. In fairness, though, there is 4 days between two games, 4 or 5 days, playing the Tuesday and you playing the Sunday, so that's good. But I think it perhaps is a game for Cameron Carter-Vickers to be resting the plastic pitch. Maybe see Liam Scales come back into the lineup. Perhaps a game for Adamida to start. We've seen how good he was against Kilmarnock away at the end of last season, the night Celtic won the league. So maybe an opportunity for him to come into the starting 11. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game. Obviously, we've seen Celtic in the past years have kind of European hangovers after these big victories. But that's about motivation. That's about have you got what it takes to maintain these elite standards, not just in the European stage and the big stage, but also when you go to, it's like that famous phrase, but can he do it on a rainy night in Stoke? Can he do it on a Sunday afternoon in Ayrshire at Rugby Park? Do you know what I mean? So they have to put in performances. Yeah,
we managed to do it on a stormy day in Dingwall straight after Atalanta, I believe. So do you know what? Take that. I'd be quite confident going into the game against Kelly. We've done them before there as well, and like you say, the only thing for me is the shitty pitch. That's the part of it for me. Absolutely hate going there. And like you said, rest your players like Carter-Vickers and stuff like that. If you think back to previous seasons, we used to always rest Big Simunovic every time we went there because he couldn't play on it at all. So I think players like that, get them rested and give the other guys a chance. Possibly put Yang in there. Give him his minutes. Give him a wee chance. I think he maybe deserves it. Guys like Bernardo as well. I thought he was brilliant when he came on. Well,
what do you think of that there? Between the two, you'll go yourself first there. Josh Carey's also saying resting players. Rest CCE, Scales and Trusty, Vieras, Ralston, McCowan, Bernardo, McGregor, Ida Maeda, Yang. I looked at Austin Trusty last night. Fantastic result. Very very hard. The 2 hard knocks there. We obviously saw, you wouldn't have seen it in the stand, but on the replay, he had quite a bad landing on his left ankle where he kind of rolled it a wee bit, side on. So he managed to get through the game, obviously, but I'm sure he'll be a wee bit tender there. And of course, he took one in the ribs. We've also got a question, and again, you've got to play your best team. I get that. Yeah. But with Carter-Vickers coming back from an injury, with the potential that Austin Trusty maybe is carrying something, are they guys, is that where the rotation for you would feature? Would you be looking to sort of try and protect the one or both of the guys?
I think definitely one of them. Probably if I was trying to protect one of them, it would be Carter-Vickers. I think the team that was read out there is actually pretty close to what perhaps it could be. I think Alistair Johnston will continue at right back. Maybe he comes off in 60 minutes. In the midfield, Hatate played 90 minutes, which is quite rare for him these days. Engels come off early doors, so maybe it's one where Engels starts again. And it's like one of those games where it's perfect for Luke McCowan, I feel. We've seen it in Motherwell away a couple of weekends ago where he came into the game and scored and was very good, and he hasn't played since. So he'll be rested, recuperated, and he'll be very eager to get an opportunity. Cup tied at the weekend, didn't play last night, so maybe it's the perfect game for him to come in. And like I said earlier, Ida up top would be perfect. So it's a good opportunity to rest, recuperate, like we say. But I think football nowadays is not just judged and based on your best starting 11. It's based on your best 15, 16 players who can come into the team and contribute to games like this at Kilmarnock away on the Sunday after a big European night. So that's those guys' time to step up. Well, hopefully, I think they should take care of Kilmarnock. They've been a bit inconsistent with their form. They beat Rangers, obviously, as we know, which isn't really hard these days, is it? They got a win at Tynecastle, but they've lost. They lost on the road to Dundee at the weekend, so a bit inconsistent this season. But it's a Derek McInnes team. He's usually well organised, but I think with the quality they have, Celtic should have no problems.
No, I would like to think so. And I just want to get, again, for your perspective, a man in the stands, Greg Taylor is, maybe for some a shock starter in that match. And again, I'm seeing mixed reviews on him. For me, he's a guy that I would probably put in against Kilmarnock. I do like the more attacking threat that we've been getting out of Valle, but at the same time, for as cliche as it'll be, he's well versed in that pitch. He knows the script, and I'd rather we'll use rotation and rotate him and keep Valle for the sort of more pressing games, the more exciting games, and the games on the better surface where his style of play is going to be far more suited. What was your thoughts of Greg Taylor on the whole there coming back into the team, mate?
I thought it wasn't too bad, to be honest. I was quite surprised that he started. If I'm being honest, I thought it was going to be Valle at left back, but yeah, I thought Taylor, he kept the ball. He caught out a couple of times defensively in the first half, I would say, but he was pivotal in that second goal, getting quite high up in the press. Hatate plays a lovely ball into him and he crossed it across for Kuhn. So yeah, I didn't think Greg Taylor was too bad. He gives you that extra number in midfield, and the way Leipzig set up with the 4-2-2-2, the diamond in midfield, you need an extra body in there because Celtic only play 3 in midfield. So Taylor coming in that inverted role somewhat helped that last night. He's very good on the ball at that, we know that. And Valle, come on, young Valle didn't do himself any bother with his performance. Caught out a couple of times at the back post in a 2-on-1 situation. But apart from that, he was more than willing to get forward, run his backside off, which was good. So at the weekend, I think it's a 50-50 call, to be honest. Taylor is going away on international duty with Scotland. Valle is staying in Scotland. He's not been called up for anything. So maybe it is Valle who gets the nod. It's a 50-50 call for me. I don't know who Rodgers will pick. If it was me, I'd probably go with Valle, but I think there's a case for Taylor as well. It's just one of the ones that's either or.
No, it's a good opportunity, and that's the thing. There's a lot of positive to come out here, and I think that you want to keep a level of consistency, you want to keep it going, but there should be room for changes, Paddy. For me, I would definitely look to bring in McCowan. I think this game's tailor-made for him. Valle or Taylor, take your pick. I would definitely protect one of CCV or Trusty, as everybody's saying. I would definitely opt to protect CCV just simply because of how much he brings, and you just see how transformed the defence looks. Solidity at the back there with him. Is there an opportunity for young potential? But the big one is, and up to yourself, because you were shouting for it last night, was Adam Ida. Do we give him a shout now? Do we give him the starting minutes against Kelly?
I think he has to get it. And like Josh had said, it's about the full squad now. It's about that 15 players. And we've now got that. We've now got the like for like that we were screaming for. We've now got the players coming off the bench that are of a similar standard. I'm not saying Yang's up to the standard of Kuhn. By no means. He's nowhere near that in a minute. But listen, the guy played really, really well. So I wouldn't be bothered with Yang going in there if he's going to give us a performance like that. Same with Liam Scales and Trusty. They've played before. They know how each other play. They're decent together. The Taylor Valle thing, again, like you said, Josh, wouldn't be bothered who starts. Both of them have been absolutely brilliant this season as well. So,
and the thing is with the rotation there, I don't know if you've seen or heard anything, Josh, just over the course of last night. We obviously saw the images as he came off of Nicholas Kuhn with the ice pack around the thigh. It didn't look as if he was in discomfort. It didn't look like an injury. Touch wood, that's just a precautionary thing. But again, this guy's been working himself so hard. He's been one of our key star asset this season. And if ever there's going to be an opportunity, if there's even an inkling of anything to not put him in the starting lineup for the off, definitely that's for me there. But one thing we've seen from him is when he has had to come on, when we've maybe been struggling, he's produced the goods. So I think that'd be covering for me. I would definitely not be taking any risks with. Definitely Carter Vickers and 100% Nicholas Kuhn. You just can't take any risks here, Josh, innit?
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. I think Kuhn's a fragile player in terms of injuries wise. He is a bit vulnerable to a lot of wee knocks here and there. I see him in the games. He wears a bit of tape around his knee to kind of protect that. So maybe it was just a precaution at the end. But if it is anything serious, you've got Forrest who can play the game against Kelly, no bother, I would say. You've got Yang who could come in and start, although it would be a surprise to see Yang start. And like you say, if Kuhn doesn't play from the off, then he can more than make an impact off the bench. We've seen that at Motherwell. Didn't start, come on, gets an assist for Adamida off the bench. So yeah, you can more than make the impact. But if there is a slight doubt that something bad could happen to him, wrap him up in cotton wool over the international break and get him fit and firing for that game at Tynecastle 2 weeks on Saturday, I think it is.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's one game, another one chalked off in the Champions League. We find ourselves in fine form. A good result, a continuation of what we've seen last night, what we've seen against Aberdeen. Of course, that's what we all want. And with the positivity levels being through the roof, it's something we'd expect. But let's be honest here, Paddy. Sunday is just about the points. It's just about getting the 3 points on the board, shutting down for this stupid international break, the inconvenient international break again, getting everybody to recalibrate, reset, and come back stronger again, innit?
Yeah, that's it. And do you know what? We spoke about the international break before, and guys like Rio Hatate going away with the Japan squad and not even getting a start, just sitting there on the bench and things like that. You don't want that. If your players are going to go away, you want them to get a game. You want them to be getting a little bit of game time, but obviously looking after themselves as well, because we don't want any injuries coming back from international football. But going into the Kelly game, like us, keep up our 100% record. Put a bit of distance between us and Aberdeen, hopefully. And, keep it going.
Well, anyway, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you back here with us, Josh. Well, just a wee quick one today. So says Paddy and I probably bored you into it. Thank you. Yes, I'm collecting my winnings. The gold bar winnings. Big high stakes in the CWHQ here, but I'm taking that. Thank you very much. In case you didn't know, he bet me a bit of chocolate that Ida was going to start. Sorry, mate. Anyway, so thanks for joining us. It says we probably talked the legs off you last night, so just a wee follow-up to touch base. We knew Josh was there. Get him back on. We always love having the brother here. Good to have his impact and his input. And, of course, he was at the game as well, so I know you've got stuff to be doing. You're a busy lad and you need to get away, so we'll not keep you any further. So, Josh, all good, isn't it? It's good.
Yeah,
good time. What a time to be alive, you could say.
It's tremendous, isn't it? Barring Dortmund, it's been an absolutely sensational start to the season. The team are kicking on. The team are doing well, and last night just epitomised that. I think it's, like I said at the top of the show, one of the best European performances I've seen from a Celtic team. This group are reaching new heights. Brendan Rodgers has taken this team to levels in Europe that I've not seen probably in my lifetime. So it's absolutely it's a joy to watch week in, week out now, this Celtic team.
Yeah. Well, there used to be a phrase of a certain company that says the future's bright, the future's orange. And I suppose if we wake up to America, some people might be thinking that a certain orange-skinned coloured man by the name of Trump is going to be their bright future. But in Scotland, the future's bright, the future's green. And we've got Brendan Rodgers. And as I said before, he's making Celtic great again. Enjoy it. The positivity levels are through the roof. Thanks again for joining us, Josh. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, Paddy, tell them.
Hail, hail.